Hey, my name's Clarice, and today we're going to be talking about Luc Besson's Lucy. But first, I know for a fact that only somebody who had access to more than 10% of their total brain capacity could both review this movie and lift these totally heavy weights at the same time. And that is exactly what's gonna happen on today's episode of Fuck No! That darn movie show.
What happened? What did you do to my stomach? What's going on?
We've merely slipped a little package into your lower tummy.
And you're going to transport something very special to us.
Yep, we're talking about Lucy today, the high-octane action-adventure which has been rocking it stateside at the box office. Beaming out, The Rock playing freaking Hercules, so that's pretty crazy awesome news for women-led action movies everywhere. So the plot. Okay, Scarlett Johansson plays an unwitting drug mule turned superpower mega human when her body starts absorbing a powerful new drug which unlocks the full potential of her brain. And what does she use her new supercharged brain for? Oh yeah, kicking ass.
Speak English?
Yes.
Take me to the hospital now.
So I'm just gonna say straight off the bat, I really liked this movie. I am actually quite a big fan of Luc Besson, which I know is kind of an unpopular opinion at the moment for some reason. I've seen a lot of people trashing him. But, you know, I think with Besson, when it comes to making these, like, big action movies, he just knows how to have fun. And he writes these, like, really cool, interesting parts for women in kind of heroic roles that you would usually give to the dudes. And I super appreciate that. And you've probably seen like The Fifth Element or Leon the Professional, but I even like his like sillier adventure movies. Like I'm thinking specifically of Bandidas and also Adele Blanc-Sec. And both these movies they remind me so much of like the classic movies from the 80s, like Back to the Future or something, when those movies weren't about being gritty and dark and heavy and important and flashy and blah blah blah. They were just, they were about having an adventure and being total escapism, and they were just about having fun. And I like fun. So I did go to see Lucy with those two particular movies in the back of my brain, and so I feel like in that sense it really didn't disappoint. I really loved it because it captured that same sense of thrill and adventure and just excitement. I walked out of the room and I felt happy and excited, and I think people maybe sometimes underrate that a little bit when they talk about movies now, which is kind of a shame. I have seen the major kind of criticism of Lucy is that it lacks logic. And I guess I understand that. I mean, we're talking about a movie whose central concept is just complete BS. And that's the idea that, you only use 10% of your total brain capacity. Which, we already had this discussion when Limitless came out. We already know it's not true. And I'm sorry to anyone who is, obsessing over Sudoku at the moment, just hoping that it'll unlock their brain and they'll become super brain ninjas. Yeah, the brain you've got is the brain you're stuck with. But I don't know if I actually really care that premise is completely wrong, because I mean, we've been watching all these superhero movies where you get bitten by a radioactive spider and then you develop spider-related powers, but only the convenient cool ones, like crawling up buildings and shooting jizz out of your wrists. But you don't get any of the inconvenient weird ones, having 8 legs and 800 eyes. So I think Lucy in that sense works by the superhero rules because it just sets its own logical laws and like follows that. And I think maybe just because Lucy's like an original concept, we're a lot less forgiving of that than we are of Spider-Man, just because like he's been around for so long that we don't know what it's like to live in a world where you can't have spider powers. I do think it's quite important actually that there is a moment where Morgan Freeman's character, who is admittedly basically playing the role of Morgan Freeman explains the plot. There is a moment where he's talking about what would happen if we used more than 10% of our brain capacity, and he basically says, at that point, we enter into the realm of science fiction. And that's what Lucy is, you know, it's science fiction, it's fantasy, it's a dream, it's wish fulfillment. It basically just asks you to accept a what if and then enjoy the ride. And that's because that's basically one of the things I didn't enjoy about Guardians of the Galaxy, even though it was so extremely awesome, was the fact that they had this obsessive need that a lot of movies have nowadays to explain everything, like every character's background and every motivation and every like backstory and history and what's going on here and who's this guy in the background, what's his deal. And I just think, you know, with Lucy, literally all you need to know is that the bigger the percentage of her brain capacity she unlocks, the more superpowers she has, because she's got greater knowledge, so she has a better understanding of the world and her surroundings, so she can manipulate the environment. I think it's really as simple as that. And I just think, you know, if we spend all that time trying to explain every single power and how it works, then, you know, we wouldn't be able to spend as much time with Lucy, like, as a character and just, you know, find out what she's thinking and feeling. I think another thing that a lot of people have been complaining about has been, like, the philosophical side of the movie, which I just don't really see as a negative either. I feel like so many blockbuster movies are shoving messages down our throats, but usually they're just so painfully obvious, like in Avatar, where it's just like, hey bruh, could you like not be mean to the environment? That'd be really cool, thanks. You know, it's just stuff that we already know, that little tiny babies know. At least Lucy was trying to say something more complicated. And I don't know if I'm going to sound totally crazy saying this, but I feel like it's basically got the same philosophical like underpinnings as Terrence Malick's Tree of Life. But you know, at least with Lucy, we got like a fun action movie instead of a giant waste of everyone's time. And Lucy still managed to have dinosaurs in it. Basically, I just like really hate Tree of Life, but that is probably a discussion for another day and another time. I thought Scarlett Johansson's performance was really interesting in seeing how, as her brain was developing faster and faster, she started to really lose touch with all the essential qualities of what it means to be human. Like, you know, she started to lose empathy for people because with all that knowledge, she could just see how our attachment to individuals is completely insignificant in the face of all time and space. And that might not be a groundbreaking concept, but I feel like at least this movie had the ambition to try and say something instead of just being like, oh, hey man, like, recycle. Definitely my like highlight of this entire movie was Lucy herself as a character. It's super easy to dismiss her as just like another one of these strong female characters, which I'm getting pretty annoyed by, and I think a lot of women are starting to get annoyed by, because that kind of character, it's not a real person, it's just like a ninja robot woman whose only character depth is a love of leather. But Lucy in this movie, I feel like she got to be what so many other dudes are in superhero-y and action-y movies, and that is the everyman destined for greatness. Except here she got to be the every woman, which is pretty awesome. Because at the start of the movie, I mean, she's just kind of like normal, like boring. I mean, she is like hungover and meant to be studying for her exams, and she's like dating this super douchey guy in a cowboy hat who is the kind of guy that every straight woman hates but still somehow ends up dating. And then even when the action kind of starts but she hasn't got her superpowers yet, she basically reacts by like crying and begging not to be murdered, which I think is how we would all react in that situation. And I feel like we don't get to see a lot of that. I feel like all these kick-ass heroines, they've been kick-ass from day one. You know, so Salt and Domino, this kind of crazy CIA agents, or like assassins trained from birth like Black Widow or Gamora from Guardians of the Galaxy. But then in contrast you have all these like male characters where it's just like a normal dude and then something awesome happens to him and he becomes awesome. And you know, there's like countless examples of that. I mean, it could go on for days, but you know, like Spider-Man and Captain America, even Limitless, if we're gonna like make comparisons with Lucy. But the massive distinction for me, and what is very important to me about the everyman / every woman character, is that it's somebody that we as an audience can relate to, because I don't feel like I can really relate to Black Widow because I don't have like a lifetime of military training to spare. But you know, maybe one day a bag of drugs will explode inside of me and then I can become awesome. Because ladies need weird shit to aspire to too. So yeah, in conclusion, I would say if you do go see Lucy, just like don't go in expecting it to be like a Liam Neeson-esque thriller movie. It's a lot closer to being like a classic superhero movie. It's all about like bold, bright ideas and really fun action sequences and just a really cool, like memorable, interesting main character. And yeah, that is the end of my opinion. Thank you so much for watching. This is the first time I have ever YouTubed and I have literally no idea what I'm doing, so I'm sorry for like if the camera's like all over the place and I keep umming and ahhing and everything. But basically I've been writing about film for a couple of years now and I just really wanted to try something new and different and try and make something that's, you know, silly and fun, but also I guess with some good ideas would be useful. And so yeah, I'm hoping this will kind of develop and get better over the next kind of few weeks and months. But thanks again so much for watching, and if you have already seen Lucy, please let me know what you thought by commenting down below, or you can tweet at me here. I would just really love to know what all you guys thought about it. And I guess that's it. I will see you on another day with another movie. Bye.